Hey, Yinz guys and gals, gather round for a journey like no other. It's time to hop on board the Where Yinz Goin podcast, proudly brought to you by Dreams by Design Travel. From the rivers that meet at the point to form downtown Pittsburgh to the furthest corners of the globe, that'll be your compass, your confidant, your companion in that as we explore the wonders of travel. Kick back, relax on your couch, and let the wanderlust wash over Yinz as we discover new horizons and reminisce about old favorites. With Dreams by Design Travel by our side, the sky's the limit. Join Matt on the Where Yinz Goin podcast because when it comes to travel, the journey's just getting started. And now, without further ado, let's give a shout for your guide through the highways and byways of travel, the man with a map, the voice of the steel city, Matt Trader.
How Yinz doing? Welcome to the Where Yinz Goin podcast, brought to you by Dreams by Design Travel. I'm Matt. I'm your host. Joining me today is Tricia, who has been a travel advisor with Dreams by Design Travel since 2019. Welcome to the podcast, Tricia.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me.
So I start every podcast this way. What is your favorite place that you've ever visited, or is there a place you would like to visit the most?
Gosh, so I would probably say a place I'd like to visit would be Japan. It's been on my family's bucket list for a while. We started out with just watching YouTube videos, thinking, oh, we'll never go here, so let's just watch everything. And then it evolved to, oh, maybe that can be our daughter's senior trip, and started looking at airfare and stuff like that. It's still going to be a bucket list trip, but with the Fantasy Springs that opened recently there, and then they have Tokyo Disney Sea, and then it also helps the fact that everybody kind of regards that as the best theme park in the whole world, and we're a huge theme park family. That seems like the next step for us to do is to go to Japan. So we're starting to learn some Japanese and all that good stuff. So my family's picky eaters, so I don't know, how they'll survive over there, but we'll get there. But
Do
that's
they like
definitely.
rice?
Do they like what? I'm sorry.
Rice.
Yes.
They'll be fine. So
Okay, good.
I've sort of been to Japan twice. We connected through the airport in Tokyo, so I guess that sort of counts.
Mhm.
But my wife is from Indonesia, and I've said that on the podcast several times. And we were back over there this summer to see her family, and we connected through Tokyo. And we've been to Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. So we've been to all the places where there are Disney parks, but we've never had time to actually go to those parks. So that's on our list of sometime coming back or going there, that we're going to take a few days and actually see the parks while it's part of a bigger trip. So we don't have to just do that.
That
But
sounds awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, the food, it's not gonna be that bad. It's a lot of fish and rice, and um, they do have some little exotic things that they're gonna eat seaweed a lot over there, and they have seaweed snacks and other things. But the trick that my dad always did with us is, it's like, here, try this. Well, what is it? No, just try it. You'll like it, and then you tell them afterwards what it was. So
Yeah. There you go. That worked for calamari for my family for a long time. And then my kids figured out what it was, and then now no. Now so much, not so much anymore.
And I have to give you big kudos for trying to learn Japanese. That I've been studying Indonesian since, before my wife and I were married. So, oh geez, 7 years now. And I know enough to survive in Indonesia, but they use the same alphabet as us. So having to learn a whole different alphabet and with the way of writing, that's a step beyond what I think I'm capable of.
Yeah, my daughter spearheaded that. That's kind of what she did this summer, is start working on that. Years and years ago, when I just graduated high school, I worked with a Japanese lady when it used to be Compaq, and then it turned to HP when we lived in Houston. And so, yeah, she taught me a couple things. We lost contact over the years, but it's. I hope one day we get to go, but it may be delayed only because we kind of want to learn the language more. We want to make it more than just Disney to stay there for a while. So that may be the one delaying factor, is can't go until at least we have some kind of basic conversation that we can have between between people. But it seems like it's pretty English friendly. Like the videos I watch on YouTube, a lot of things are in English. So we don't make it all the way to being great conversationalists. At least we can get from point A to point B, hopefully.
And the one thing I found traveling through other countries is that many people know a bit of English, and what you said of learning a little bit of the language to, say hello and thank you and goodbye, and making the effort to say, hey, I'm in your country. I'm going to try to, do things your way, but I'm not that good. So if you could meet me halfway, it'd be greatly appreciated. But even just knowing a little bit of, them just knowing a little bit of English, if you use small words and short sentences, common words as well, that you can kind of figure out what you're doing.
Yep. A
So,
little bit goes a long way.
but that's not why we're here to talk. What we're here to talk about. We want to discuss the Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando, and to an extent Universal Studios Hollywood. So just some background on it. Back in 1973, Knott's Berry Farms started Knott's Scary Farm, or also Knott's Halloween Haunt. And then over the years, that grew and got very popular. So in 1986, Universal Studios Hollywood had Halloween Horror Nights, and it was mainly restricted to the haunted tram tour, so it wasn't a whole lot. But it didn't last long, primarily because one of the scare actors had a bad accident that he fell between two tram cars and unfortunately was killed. So that went on the back burner. In 1991, Universal Studios Florida started, or they had Universal Studios Fright Nights. It was started October 25th. It was for 3 nights. They had one haunted house. It was the Dungeon of Terror, and they had a couple of shows. $12.95. So if we go
Yeah,
back to
wow.
those days,
I know, right? That'd be nice. And then I know another cool thing about when they started in Orlando is they used the Jaws queue back when they opened the Universal Studios there in Florida. I know they had a lot of problems with the initial Jaws ride, and so they uh they took the queue line, and that was for Jaws since they weren't using the ride at the time, and that's where they put the first house. I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, and back when Universal Studios Florida opened, they had a lot of issues with more than just Jaws, with some of the attractions and getting customers and everything. So starting the Halloween event was a way to try to get more customers just to come in and, hey, experience it. Oh wow, that was fun, and hopefully come back. The next year, they changed the name to Halloween Horror Nights, and this time they expanded to 5 nights and had 2 haunted houses, and it was brought back to the Hollywood Universal Studios Hollywood, but they didn't have a whole lot of, the attendance wasn't that good, so it was discontinued out there again. 1993, it was 7 nights with 3 haunted houses in Universal Orlando, and then it went on hiatus. 1997, they brought it back again, and then 2001 to 2005, they did not have it at Hollywood's out in Universal Studios Hollywood. 2002 to 2005, it jumped from Universal Studios Florida to Islands of Adventure, and then it jumped back to where it has stayed ever since at Universal Studios Florida. 2011, it started at Singapore. 2012, it started in Tokyo. So it's expanded an awful lot over the years. This year, it's year number 33 for Orlando. So
No,
it's going to
I'm
be,
excited.
yeah, it's going to be 48 nights starting from August 30th, running through November 3rd. Starts at 6:30 p.m. and runs to like 2 in the morning. They have the Halloween Horror Night show. You get access to some of the attractions, not all of them. You get free parking after midnight. So if you're a night out and want to come real late, you can save yourself a few bucks. And you can save money by booking in advance. So that's always nice.
Yeah, and the good thing about planning ahead and booking in advance is the most popular hotel there is for Halloween Horror Nights, at least. There's a lot, they're all popular, but for Halloween Horror Nights, it's the Hard Rock. hotel because it's literally a 4-minute walk from Hard Rock to Universal Studios where Halloween Horror Nights takes place. In fact, this is our fourth year going. The first 3 years, I would have to book that hotel back in January, February, because by March, at least for the time when we go, which is in October, it's already sold out. I mean, like, even the suites, like everything is already booked for Hard Rock because it's so close. Because since it ends at 2, it's an easy 4-minute walk back to your room versus staying further, which is fine. Like this year, we're trying Sapphire Falls, so that one's by boat. But yeah, the RIP tour sells out pretty quick. I think they added more this year, but I know a lot of the dates were sold out for a while. But yeah, it's always cheaper and better to book in advance, especially for a couple things.
Yeah, and if you buy your tickets at the gate, it's a set price, which is typically higher than what you're going to get if you do it beforehand.
Oh yeah,
And
and then those single night ones sell out too.
mhm. Something that is new this year is the Premium Scare Night, which will be August 29th. So day before it officially opens, they have a special event that you can get in with shorter wait times. And this is really neat that they're going to stagger the entry into the houses. So normally everyone just goes in one after the other, but with staggered, there's going to be a gap in front of you. So you don't know where the scares are. And so it's kind of the haunted houses as they're meant to be.
Yeah, I kind of make my own little staggered thing too. I learned that the first time we went. You have like these little, they call them like, can't remember the terminology, but there is place, like there's ways like they not block, but like they transition from scene to scene. And so I always kind of gave my own little space so that it didn't ruin the scare. But yeah, I guess they caught on and now they're marketing it with the whole staggered entry like that. So I'm interested to see how it goes. Maybe if they keep it up next year, it'd be a great thing
Yeah,
to do.
it's an extra night, and I imagine it's going to go over really, really well. That, just by the popularity of the event itself, it's I can't imagine that this would not be, a huge success. Other bonuses for this premium scare night though is all you care to enjoy food, you get free parking, and you'll get a souvenir credential with a lanyard. So it's the whole thing of Pixar didn't happen. You now have proof that you were there.
That's right. And you pretty much had me sold too with the all you can eat, all you can prepare to eat food part. So if they just had that with the houses, I'd be sold.
Now there are some rules, and it's for safety and for the a better experience for everybody who's going to go to the event. Is that there are no costumes or masks for anyone who is attending. So one, that's it. The mask thing, that's a huge visibility issue and liability. So of course they don't want that. And costumes, they want to have their scare actors be their scare actors and not have anyone else try to steal the show or get confused or anything else. And some other homemade costumes aren't always exactly safe for others to wear.
This is true. And it's pretty dark there when, they want to create an atmosphere where it's spooky and you have the fog and it's dark. So if you had your own kind of mask, it's hard to see for one thing to walk around. Second of all, it's hard to distinguish, like you said, like their scare actors versus, a guest coming in. So makes sense.
You cannot bring any food, drinks, bottles. There's no video recording, no flash photography, no flashlights, no laser pens allowed in the houses. So you can bring one sealed bottle of water through security.
Yeah, and they're really strict. I know when we stayed at Hard Rock, we start coming over there around 5 o'clock. And usually about that time, like you have your own security, which is a great advantage to staying on property is the security is before it's not in the parking garage. So it's easier. And, I would walk in with like my Coke or whatever, not thinking of it because it's still light outside. And there's a certain point where they don't let you bring anything in, except like you said, like a sealed bottle of water. But yeah, they're pretty strict about that kind of stuff. So heads up if you're walking over.
Or it's like airport security. Be prepared to chug it. So
That's right. And I've had to do that before. But it was a Coke. It was just a Coke.
Also, they don't want any sharp metal or chains that are on any clothing or accessories. Mainly so as you're going through the haunted houses or even the scare zones, just walk around, again in relatively darker, low lighting situations that nothing gets caught or anything. You get snagged and, pull down some of the scenery or get hurt, and anything sharp that if you would, jump while you're being scared, that you're not going to hurt anybody else who's around you or even yourself. That I will, not neither confirm nor deny whether I've accidentally hit myself in the head with anything that I've had in my hand when I've been scared or anything. So, most important thing to remember though, the performers will not touch you, and therefore do not touch them. So no contact. This is like the 6th grade dance when you were in grade school. Basically nobody touches. So
Yeah, and that's a big rule for them too. I mean, they do, and I think that's a lot of the reason why people are kind of scared to attend. Like they can't touch you. They do get very close to you. They do get in your personal space. I've been like brushed by like their sleeve of their costume and stuff like that. But yeah, they will not touch you, but they do invade your personal space. But they take that very seriously. There is team members inside the house that are in black clothing, so they kind of blend with the house itself around the corners. But I think that's one of their big safety things for the scare actors is, some people react to being scared, differently than other people, but they won't touch you.
there was a guy that I still know that he studied martial arts. I forget which one it was, but someone walked up to him and tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around and like almost got an arm hold, almost did a shoulder throw with him because it was a reaction for him. So
Yeah.
be careful
Yeah, I
with
hear you.
how you're
For
scared.
sure. We took our daughter, she's 15. Well, she's 16 now, but last year she was 15 when we let her go. Um, and I kind of had to, she'd never been in a haunted house before, and I kind of had to give her the pep talk. I was like, okay, you know, don't walk around with this like defensive stance, because I guarantee you they won't scare you, because you want to be scared in a haunted house. So if you look like you're gonna start throwing punches at someone, they're gonna bypass you for someone else. So, I had to give her like the whole rundown, like, keep your hands at your side and stuff like that. So she did good. She behaved, but we kind of sandwiched her between my husband and I to make sure you're keeping an eye on her. But yeah, you never know. So unless you've done that before.
Yeah, and on that note, this is definitely not an event for kids. Young kids, unless they're extremely brave kids, like Bam Bam from the Flintstones or something, advise not to bring them. It's and make a very careful judgment if they're a little bit older, 10, 11, 12, if they're ready for this, because it's meant to be an adult, scary situation and environment. So it's not funny, scary like the Haunted Mansion at Disney. This is scary, scary.
Yeah.
And
Universal markets at 13 and
okay,
up. So they kind of have, and that disclaimer is pretty much at the end, like the bottom of all their stuff for Halloween Horror Nights. But it's not just the scary thing too. Like this event goes till 2 a.m. I don't really know a lot of 8-year-olds that can stay up that late too. And there's actually more walking um than like a regular day in the parks, because these houses are far backstage, back where like the trailers are at for the team members, stuff like that. So back there where they store the parade floats. So you're walking really far and you're staying up late, so you don't want to, and you want to get the most out of it. So you don't want to be there from, and at like 11, because one of my little tips I have is, the later you stay, the less the lines are. So bring in a small kid. And I have seen, it's very rare, but we have seen smaller kids there, and I just, I don't know. maybe they think it's like the other park's party, but yeah, it's definitely Margaret, especially the show, the live show there. That's definitely an adult environment there that you probably don't want to have to talk about with your kids afterwards. So yeah.
Although you said about kids staying up that late, we have a little 4-year-old and she'll stay. Well, now I don't think she's ever been up quite that late, but there's a times when she stays up well past her bedtime on the nights where you really need her to go to bed. It's like, okay, we have
Of
to get up
course.
early for a trip. It's like, but I'm not
Yep.
tired, Daddy. Go to bed.
I know.
And,
Well, she's probably excited too.
well, that too, yeah. And with these haunted houses, though, I think you might get little kids to stay up late if they go to one because they'll probably be so scared they don't want to go to bed. So
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, you might be making that harder on yourself if you're taking a little kid and they've gone in these houses and seen some of this, these scary icons and actors and stuff, and then you're not getting sleep either. You're up with them. But yeah, my so we waited till our daughter was older so she could do that, stay up later and we'll be okay with that. But I mean, it depends on kids. I mean, there might be some that would be even older than that. But like I said, Universal kind of hits it around 13, like at least that.
PG-13 events. So
There you go.
my wife is definitely not a haunted house person. We went to a local one, and we went to one that was in an amusement park we were at, and even the one that was in the amusement park, it was not very scary. It was kind of cheaply done with just little things that popped up at you every once in a while, and she was freaking out. So she's definitely not going to join me at Halloween Horror Nights anytime soon.
Oh, that's funny. She's like the fun people that I like to sit on the sidelines when the scare zones and watch people like that. That's enjoyable too for people to see, somebody creep up behind. But I feel like the scare actors really like pick their target based on that. If you're going in with, like a lot of people wear like Halloween shirts and you can tell like they're into it and they love that type of movie and stuff like that versus someone that comes in with like I don't know, like a summery type bright shirt and shorts and flip-flops and they're just like their hands are up their, up by their mouth because they're just waiting to like scream and I feel like you get picked on more by the scare actors walking through the scare zones and maybe even the houses too. When you look like that. So I love to sit back and have a snack and see people like sounds like what your wife is scared of
Yeah,
stuff like that.
we went through a local one here a couple years ago. It was so again, she's not from the United States. First time she'd ever been to a haunted house, and she had no idea what to expect. And she was hanging on me like in a bear hug almost, not wanting to let go as we're going. Like, you're gonna knock me over, okay?
Oh gosh, that's funny.
So, but I I don't mind haunted houses. I mean, it's fun. That you're gonna get there's a difference between being scared and being jump scared. So as you get at these haunted houses, again, they're not going to touch you. If there was a chance that I'm not going to walk out of this alive or that I'm going to be injured, okay, that's a different scary, which I do not want any part of. But for a haunted house, I know someone's going to jump out behind things and try to scare me, and that's even part of the fun of as I'm walking through. Where are they going to be? I think they're here, and then of course when you're wrong, that's when you really get scared. But it's it's fun.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that type of thing.
Yeah. We have one house in San Antonio here that I've actually never been to, but I believe you have to sign a disclaimer when you go in this house. So again, I'm like you, like that's not for me. I don't want that level of scary, but yeah, this is more like you said, jump scares, kind of faking you to be like, oh, I think the scare will be here, and then the scare actor comes out from a different spot, or you're not thinking about looking down at your feet and then they're like a hand reaches out like these scare actors are so good at what they do. They know just the right place to, like I say, get in your personal space without touching you, which I think is an art, kind of like the team members that will load an attraction and they're counting, and they're perfectly put people on in the lines. Like I don't know how they do that they're just very good at their job. But But yeah, it's like you said, it's jump scares. Um, it's not anything that's, I guess it depends on your level of being scared. I'm a very hard person to scare. My daughter has kind of taken it upon herself to try as hard as she can to scare me in her house. And I don't even like flinch, and I'm peeking around that this morning, we have like a open concept house with like the stairway in the middle. And I came around front, coming down the stairs and I like jumped out and said, like today's our first day of school. So like, happy first day of school or whatever. And she's like, I love that kind of stuff. So, I guess if you're a type of person that where, you're just walk in a room and they start talking to somebody else, or they start talking to you and you get scared, then you're going to get a lot out of this. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, but you're in a safe place. No one's going to touch you.
And what was more scary for your daughter, whenever you jumped at it or actually going to school? So
Uh, she's a junior, so she's a trainer, so she's already been back at school for 2 weeks now doing like the football stuff like
yeah.
that. So it was more like my 10-year-old. That was more scary for him because he had to get up before 10. So it's horrifying to him.
And I mentioned about my wife not liking the being haunted houses. She loves watching horror movies though. So I don't she likes watching
Yeah,
like the supernatural freaky ones where, weird stuff happens. So
yeah. Yeah, when they announced like the IP houses, the intellectual property houses for the year, if I haven't seen it, then that's when to get the full, I think to get the full um appreciation for like the IP houses, then I'll go in and like, watch these movies and stuff like that. And again, I'm the opposite of your wife. I'm more scared watching the movie like in my own house or movie theater than I am being at a physical house, which is crazy. We saw The Quiet Place actually at Universal back in July because we got stuck there from the hurricane. And at City Walk, there's I can't remember what brand it is, if it's Regal or Santikos. But we saw A Quiet Place there and had to get up to go to the restroom or whatever in the middle of the movie. And I acted like I was quiet getting out of my seat because the whole movie is, pretty quiet once you hit a certain point. Um, but yeah, like that to me scared me more than probably like as this year is The Quiet Place house. That's one of the IPs. Just like being in that, I probably look like a lunatic. I'm walking through the house like smiling, and I don't really like scream too much. But I just love the atmosphere, the smells and the sounds, and like these houses it's totally immersive. Like there's smells depending on what house, corresponding with um what that's what the smell would be like this year they have the Major Sweets Candy Factory, which I know we're talking about in a second, but I would imagine that house at certain points is going to smell like you know candy or cotton candy or something like that. But in the years past they had one of my favorite houses was Puppet Theater, and you're walking through like a theater that they had, marionettes and stuff like that. And it ended up being, I think the story behind it was there was an earthquake and it was destroyed. And somewhere along the line, these puppets were, I don't know, possessed or whatever. And so you're walking through the theater. And so there's one part you're walking backstage for what this theater is, backstage within the house. And you could smell the powder from like the makeup. It smelled like baby powder. And last year, the Monsters house, the classic Universal Monsters, um, which are my favorite houses, the mummy part of the house, this is kind of gross, but it smelled like heat. I think it's supposed to smell like dead, rotting is like in a tomb. And to me, it smelled like feet. And that one was, that was a lot. So and then of course you get people, a big like the Halloween Horror Nights, the big fans of it, like I am, that go every year, have been going for a long time. This is the 33rd year. This is just my fourth year, but the people that have been there from the beginning, they always like that fog smell. I think Universal even incorporated it into one of their commercials a couple years ago. Like they walk in and they just take a deep breath and you smell the fog. That's a thing. I wish they would make a candle like that. I would just burn that year round. It's great. But the houses, they're just so great. I love them.
It's like going into ET. It has that smell to it. So
It does. And they do have a candle, which I forgot to go back there a couple months ago and get it. We rode the ride and I was like, oh, here's the candle. I was like, we'll go back and get it later. And I forgot. So
well, it just means you have to go down again. So
that's right. That's right.
opportunity.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, since you started talking about the haunted house, let's get into that. So there are 10 haunted houses, and they change the themes each year. Now, sometimes they'll have a relationship to one that was either the year before or a few years before, or along those lines. So there's sometimes they have themes that run through them in consecutive years. But this year there's Universal Monsters, which is Eternal Bloodlines. They have Insidious, The Further, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, which I got to see that on one of the planes going over to Indonesia this summer to visit my wife's family. And I'm a big Ghostbusters fan to begin with, and I thought that was very well done. The newer movies are a lot darker than the original one, but so well done, and the references back to the original movies are fabulous.
Yeah, I think that house, the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, I think that's going to be the house that has the coolest effects in it because I can just imagine walking in and or the part of the movie where, they freeze everything. I haven't seen it. I saw it when it first came out in the movie theater, but everything's cold. I would imagine that they would have, you know, that would be the part of like the house where it'd be really cold. You might have like snowflakes falling. I think that would be the one that they would have the most, Universal would have the most fun creating all the really cool effects. Is that house.
Imagine someone who's either frozen or partially frozen as one of the scare actors of, starting to be frozen, like help, help type of thing.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty
I
neat.
could see some cool projections, but that one, like, where they're
Yeah.
transitioning from that, that'd be neat.
Other one you mentioned was A Quiet Place. Then Monstrous, the Monsters of Latin America.
So that one actually, I believe it was last year. That one was at Hollywood for their Halloween Horror Nights. And that one you know, I need to go back and watch like the very first official night that Universal does Halloween Horror Nights, whether it's on the East Coast or West Coast, they allow the vloggers to actually take video of like the whole house. So some will actually take from like walking in the door to the end, some will just do major clips. Um, which I guess we haven't talked about this yet, but you're not allowed to take pictures in the houses. I think you did earlier with the rules, but that's the only time if you're like trying to figure out whether you want to go or not, you can actually go on YouTube and watch the videos. But that house was at Hollywood last year and it looked phenomenal. And they're bringing it to Orlando this year and everybody out in Hollywood just loved it and it looked great. So that one's based on like the folklore of Latin America. And I think Universal put out some concept art for what the costumes look like, and it looks really cool. I'm excited about this one.
Next one on the list is Slaughter Cinema 2.
And that one's a sequel from the Halloween Horror Nights 28 and 2018. That one was a really big fan favorite when it came out. A lot of people liked it, which I guess is why they brought it back as another one. It'll be different movies. They take little like B movie type. And they're original, like it's not like they're gonna go grab like a IP like B movie or whatever. They make their own um fake movies to put in these houses. And so that one I think is gonna be the fan favorite this year. There's a lot of hype about that house. That was like the first one they announced too. Um, I think it was some kind of fan event they did a couple months ago. They actually had a scare actor come out in full costume. But this is the one I really want to see, to see them do. And sometimes they'll pull like a movie from that, and it'll be a house. Like if it's well received by guests, they'll take that and they will make another house out of it, or a scare zone another year. So Universal was really good about listening to feedback and their guests, and they'll take that concept and maybe a couple years from now or next year there'll be a house or a scare zone from one of those movies at that house. It's pretty cool.
Being receptive to what the fans like and then expanding on that. One, it's brilliant marketing for giving the fans more of what they want and increasing the popularity and just building on momentum whenever you have it.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that, there was a house, I think it was the first year we went, in 2021. It was Wicked Growth, and the house was pumpkin themed. That was the house that won House of the Year. There's kind of like a internal rating system, I guess the team members have based, and also like fan feedback. They kind of give a House of the Year award. You won't see it publicized anywhere, but if you go back the next year, if you're back later in the year, you can ask a team member and they'll tell you which one won. That one won that year for best house. And the entrance to Wicked Growth, there was all these pumpkins, and they had all different little personalities, like in the face of the pumpkin. And one of them, a guest or somebody, took that pumpkin and made it go viral on social media, and he named it Little Boo, and people loved it. And so Universal saw that, and now the next year there was Little Boo merchandise. In fact, today I think there was a Little Boo stuffed plush, like shoulder pal that you can put on your shoulder. It's Little Boo. And there were shirts last year. There was Little Boo. There's a larger plush Little Boo, which I told my husband if it's there this year, I'm buying it, and it's going to go out with our Halloween decorations every year. But yeah, they're really good about seeing that. Universal's really good about seeing about that. What works, and they take that and they just run with it. And that's really cool. I thought, to take stuff that people make up on their own and just say they make it, Universal lore from here on out, like Earl the Squirrel. Earl the Squirrel
Mhm.
was like that too, with the squirrel, that a live squirrel that got in the Christmas tree for their Christmas event, and messed with the lights and stuff like that. So now they made a character called Earl the Squirrel, and you'll see him for Christmas every year. As a cartoon character, and then they even had him in the Christmas tree last year. But that was just like a real thing that happened that they took and ran with. So that was neat.
Universal is really good with showing their personality like that and not being afraid to be self-deferential and make fun of themselves or roll with something that's coming up or be a little bit risque or cheeky with things like that. So it's they take little things and make them more fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Getting back to the haunted houses, next one up is the museum, Deadly Exhibits.
Yeah, this one. So speaking about Universal doing stuff like that, they have a lot of Easter eggs that they hide in like other like tribute stores, which Universal, if you don't know, or if guests don't know, I know you know that, but if guests don't know, they take about there's about four houses a year. So every kind of season, like Mardi Gras, and then there's a summer house, a tribute store, and then there's one for Halloween Horror Nights, there's one for Christmas. They have these Easter eggs that they hide in the tribute store, and then that kind of gives like a hint for like the next either tribute store or like something with the next season. And so right now, the Sahara Traders gift shop that's out at the exit of the Mummy, they have a couple little Easter eggs for the house. It's the oh my gosh, I can't think of which one it was. It's the the Museum of Deli Exhibits, that house. Just some props in there that kind of allude to that house, which I think that's really cool to get, that detail with stuff that a lot of guests won't notice, except for us diehards. That's pretty cool.
And then the last house that you mentioned before was Major Sweets Candy Factory.
Yeah, this was a scare zone back for Halloween Horror Nights 31 when they were doing, 31 is October 31st Halloween. So that year's theme was just, Halloween stuff. Like that's year they had a Michael Myers Halloween house. So this is going to be seen like a prequel to that scare zone. Again, it was a really well received scare zone. And so they said, hey, let's just make a house out of it. And they did.
And then, as you mentioned, there are 5 sinister scare zones, not just regular scare zones, but they're sinister. So they also have themes. The first one is Duality of Fear, which you have 2 paths you can take, either sinister or surreal. And the E's in those words are 3. So it's coming from the movie Megan.
And this one, again, it hasn't started yet, but I believe just from because I love watching YouTube of like anything. It's rumored that this one's kind of have like a split at the entrance. You walk in the entrance, and if you've been, if a guest, if you know, has never been to Universal before, it kind of splits two ways. And I think this is going to be where the scare zone is, and so you can go straight to where Minions is, and that would be I don't know, either Sinister or Surreal, and then to the right to go down Hollywood, that'll be the other one. So that's going to be kind of cool to have a choice where, you know, which path you're going to go down to.
And that's just having the repeatability of an attraction is really, really important. You get repeat guests and coming back again and again. That now, oh, I went down one now, next time I'm going to go down the other, or coming back to it later on, and to be able to, do something more than once. And especially now, you know where the scares are, but now you won't, and you can go through it again.
Oh yeah, and you have a different walkthrough for every time. We go about 3 nights, and so every one of those 3 nights we hit up all the houses again, and it's different. You'll see things different than you didn't see the night before. There's so much in these houses that you're always going to see something new. Kind of like if you were to ride, a ride you've ridden, a Universal ride 10 times, and you'd be like, oh, I don't remember that from last time. It's the same thing with the houses.
And they are so detailed. We'll get into how you can see some of those details a little bit better later on. But yeah, the detail they put into them, especially if it's a dark thing at night, that you don't need to have all these little nuances, but they're there. It just adds to the experience. Because whenever you do notice a little thing, it's and it just makes it that much better. With the rest of the scare zones, there's Demon Queens, Swamp of the Undead, Torture Fair, and Enter the Blumhouse.
Yeah, of the scare zones of all those five, I think Swamp of the Undead looks pretty cool. That one's set up right now in the Central Park area, by where the crepe shop is, right before you go into like the ET area, the DreamWorks area. That one looks really cool. I'm excited to see that one at night with all the trees and then the fog. I think that one's going to be really. That's my choice for I think what the best scare zone will be. But and I know we talked about this earlier, but like with your wife, how she doesn't like to be scared. I, if you want to sit down and have a rest and have a snack and sit here and watch people walk through these scare zones, it's the best, to see these scare actors creep up behind people, and they pick their target and they go with it, and it's really fun. It's fun to sit there on the curb and just watch people, and you have to go through these areas to get to the houses. So it's kind of there is some detour areas, but for the most part, you got to go through there. You know, it's the beginning part of like your experience with Halloween Horror Nights is these scare zones, and they're very entertaining the to see people go through them.
Yeah, and well, one tip when you're going to the haunted houses is don't go to the first one you see. Go farther to the back because most people are going to go to the first one. So if there's a little bit of a line, keep on walking, and if you get to the back, you have a shorter wait at least in the beginning. As people, they go through one, they keep working their way back. If you go to the back to begin with, you'll be able to get more bang for your buck.
Yeah, yeah. Because like I said, some of these houses are pretty far in the back of the park. So if you can, and that's a good strategy kind of too for daytime when you're at the parks, just to go farther in. Those parks or those attractions and houses will always have a shorter wait than the ones right in the front.
And you want to add your fun fact or
Oh
about
yes. Yes, so this is just kind of like, one of those fan things, is years back, I don't know when this started, but um there's this kind of first, I guess you could say, um that happens if Universal uses porn, whether it's fake, like the stalks of porn, or in a scare zone or a house, fake or real corn, that year they usually have bad weather, like hurricane bad weather, or opening day is just lots of rain. And these, besides the scare zones being outside, the houses, they still go on, rain or shine or whatever. But yeah, so I think Universal, I don't know if they know about this. It's kind of like a fan thing. I'm sure they've heard about it, but I feel like they forget. Like you have like corn one year, and then like this will happen, and then they'll not have it for a couple years, and then they'll bring it back, and then this will right. It's I don't know. It's just kind of a fun thing. If you see it pop up, and you have to just pay attention. Like, okay, there's been 3 hurricanes in the fall, and they had fake corn in the scarecrow scare zone. So, heads up, don't do corn.
They're testing fate every few years.
For sure, for sure. And you know what, Matt? I realized there was 2 houses that we didn't get to talk about yet. Triplets of Terror, which I think they have 3 new characters with that house, 3 new original characters. It's another original house. And then Goblin's Feast, which those 2 houses they haven't really said a whole bunch about with Universal. Goblin's Feast kind of reminds me of the Dueling Dragons house they had last year with the medieval theme that used to be a coaster where Hagrid's is now a Universal, um but those 2 I think we get to talk about.
Yeah, tell me about the
Completes the
count
10.
now. I said there were
Yep.
10 houses and I listed 8 of them. So me and math not working today. So beyond the scare zones and the houses, they also have other entertainment. So different shows, the Nightmare Fuel Nocturnal Circus.
Yeah, so this is the 4th interpretation of the Nightmare Fuel that they've had the last couple years. The show before this that started, I think the last one they had was in 2017. It was Bill and Ted. It was like a play on pop culture and whatever's going on that year. And then the last 4 years they've had Nightmare Fuel, which is really cool. Lots of pyro, magic, lots of magic stuff, um, like hard rock kind of stuff. It's really cool. We've always enjoyed it. And so it's different every year, but like the same type of like core concept around it, but they take the story in a little different direction every year.
And I didn't see the Bill and Ted ones live, but I saw the video of it. And, being my age and growing up with the Bill and Ted movies back in the late 80s, early 90s, that was, I mean, it hit my sense of humor at that time of life. So even though I've seen them, as an adult, they've come across them every once in a while to watch them. And they're still funny. So, but having them as, Halloween Horror Nights is an interesting twist on it.
Yeah, I wish I could have gone when they had that. So I guess we're, back to YouTube. Thank goodness that that's there. But yeah, I thought that would have been cool to see too. I'm also a child of that time period, and I would have loved to see that. And it was different every year because they just took whatever was happening in pop culture at that time and they played on it with the shows and stuff. So
There's always a chance they'll bring it back too. So
I know, I
but
think speculation every year, I think people always go back to that. Say, is this gonna be the year they have Bill and Ted back again? And Nightmare feels good too, though.
and there's also roaming street performers. Yeah, I think you mentioned before we have people going around trying to scare you.
Yeah, chainsaws. That's like a staple of like every, whether you're going to SeaWorlds or Six Flags, there's always those chainsaws that you hear around the park, people chasing you with chainsaws. So yeah, love it.
And probably the most important part of Halloween Horror Nights is the food. And they're
Oh,
famous for a few special things that they're going to bring out only during this time of year. One is the pizza fries.
and then my personal favorite, twisted taters. I love them. It's a potato that they spiral cut, and it's on. It's basically like sausage on the stick, but it's a potato, and then they have different seasonings that they put on it. Basic, not anything crazy and elaborate, but that's the tried and true like Halloween Horror Nights treat is twisted taters, and they are so good. Love it. Fried potatoes, can't go wrong.
And just seeing the spiral potato that's on a skewer that you just don't, it's unusual. But again, it's a fried potato, so it's super tasty. So you can't
Yeah,
go wrong with
yeah.
that.
Fancy French fry.
It's amazing in its simpleness. And of course, they also have theme merchandise, whether it's just towards Halloween Horror Nights in general, whether specifically for some of the individual haunted houses. And as you mentioned before, there's Little Boo.
Yep, Little Boo. He's awesome. And every year they have different Halloween Horror Nights, like the houses. I don't think they have the scary ones on there, but the houses they'll have on shirts. So that's kind of like the my favorite collectible. I know you can't podcast, but I actually have on the one from 2022, I think. And the back of it shows all 10 houses that year. And I always get one every year to remember all of them because you forget which year is which house. So you bring out your shirt. And if you, when you go to Halloween Horror Nights, you'll see people with shirts from like 20 years ago. Um, that's really cool. And they have on the back. And when you're standing in line behind people, then you're just reading the back of their shirt. It's like, oh, that was a cool year with that house. You know, it's reminiscing every time you go. That's the attire, the official, unofficial attire of Halloween Horror Nights is previous year shirts.
On that note, as Tricia said before about walking through the houses and, if you want to be scared or you don't want to be scared, if you don't really want to be scared too much, buy a shirt that has Halloween Horror Nights stuff on it and wear it. That way you look like you've been there, you've done that. It's kind of like the old saying of grab a clipboard and walk quickly, pretend like you know what you're doing, and then people think you're actually working. So wear the Halloween Horror Night shirt, have confidence when you're walking and seem like you know what you're doing, is you're not one of those people who's going to completely freak out. And then if you don't want to have the be scared too much, put on that confidence, fake it till you make it type thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Even if it's just a black shirt. I mean, a lot of the shirts you can even get on Amazon. Um, I've seen them on Etsy, Amazon, or just a plain black shirt so you don't stand out in the crowd if you just kind of you want to go, you want to be not scared, but then you want to be like, for lack of a better word, hunted. So kind of blend in. But and also, it's a it's just that when you go to like events, it's just getting into it's part of the atmosphere. It's wear a Halloween shirt, wear a you know Walking Dead shirt. It just kind of gets you into the mood and gets you all excited to go.
Yeah, check eBay for past years Halloween Horror Night shirts. So it's like, oh, 2015, that guy's been here a long time or forever, and they know what they're doing. It's here at your first
That's
time.
right. That's right. And it's good conversation with people online too. You know, talking about that year, what you liked, didn't like, and all that stuff. Camaraderie.
Exactly. And with Little Boo, he also has a new friend this year too.
Yeah, there's another pumpkin that they came out with. I think he's been named Lester, whether I don't know if that's an official term. It's just what I've been hearing in my many videos I like to watch with my tried and true bloggers that, you know, give me all the intel. Yeah, apparently his name is Lester. So we'll see what that's like on merch this year. When the actual event starts, they put out more merchandise. I know they've kind of been when they would announce a house, they would put a shirt out. If you were in the parks throughout the year, but I'm curious to see how they market him. And he doesn't look as cute and cuddly as Little Boo does. He looks a little bit more sinister. So we'll see.
I think that'd be neat in years to follow if they start a storyline between the two, especially if it's, cute Little Boo and then sinister Lester.
Yeah,
So,
like which one are you? Like, are you Little Boo or are you Lester?
and of course, you mentioned the Halloween Horror Nights tribute store.
Yep, yep. It kind of goes back and forth location wise, but I think this year it's going to be in the New York section, and the tribute store. The theme of that, it's not just like scary stuff. Like it'll play within the overall theme of that year's Halloween Horror Nights. Last year, I think it was a comic book, and so there's three or four different separate rooms All kinds of really cool effects in there. There was a scene in the comic, one of the rooms where it had like rain with projections, and that was really neat. Don't know what this year's will be. Guess we'll find out for that special premium scare night. They'll have it open. Or they'll do team member previews and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really cool. It's where you get all your merch, but it's a destination in and of itself. You know, besides just going in there and buying stuff, it's cool to just walk around, and it matches whatever they're going with that year for theming.
Yeah, because beyond just the merchandise you can buy, it is decorated to match everything too. So it's the unofficial 11th non-scary house, you know, type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. You know, you're right. I never thought about that way, but you're right. It kind of is.
And then even the hotels get into it. That the lobbies and the lounges at some of them have different themes and they get decorated for the event as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's another great reason to stay on property. You never kind of break that immersion in Halloween Horror Nights when you go back from the event and you go back to your hotel. You're there right there staying in it too. So
Total immersion during your entire stay. So Command Bay Beach, Aventura, and Endless Summer have the theme lounges, and then with the lobbies, Command Bay Beach, Aventura, Portofino, Hard Rock, Royal Pacific, Sapphire Falls, and then Dockside and Surfside also have stuff.
yeah, and they kind of play off of the theme of the hotel itself. You know, like for example, Portofino is an Italian themed hotel, and so I believe their lobby is going to be like an abandoned Venetian circus. Hard Rock's going to have a zombie band. Royal Pacific is like a tropical themed hotel, and they're supposedly supposed to have jungle of carnivorous plants there. And Sapphire Falls, again, you have the Caribbean theme. They're going to have like an eerie seaside manor, stuff like that. It's just kind of cool. They play with the theme of the overall theme of the hotel and then make it scary-ish.
Aventura is kind of like futuristic type thing, and they have the alien overlords and abductions. So, Commander Bay Beach is the Pumpkin Lord, Dockside is Driftwood monsters, and Surfside is a giant squid. So, again, nice tie-ins with the theme of the hotel.
Yeah, that was a nice touch this year.
And those who are staying in one of the Universal hotels will get a special entry gate into Halloween Horror Nights, but it's only available from 6:30 to 7:30. So right when it's opening, you have your special gate to get in. If you come in later, you're gonna get in with everyone else. But really, at 6:30 is where you really have the crowd of everyone getting in. Anyway, that's when you really need it.
Yeah, that's a big perk because I mean, starting even like at 5:30, maybe even earlier, there's a massive crowd outside. Just like if you were to do early entry for the parks during the day, people those lines grow. So it pushes out into City Walk for Halloween Horror Nights. So that's a great perk to have is staying on site, just a separate entry for them.
And of course, they have extra add-ons that you can get that can make your experience more enjoyable. So first is Express Pass, where you can skip the regular line once per house, plus you get to use it for the attractions. So it's just like the Express Pass that they have for the parks during the regular day.
Yeah, and an important thing to note with that is it's separate. So if you're either buying the express pass for like the day parks, a la carte, or you're staying at the three premier, they give it for free. Totally different. You can't use that daytime express pass for the Halloween Horror Nights. It's a separate purchase and it's a one time use per house. So, but absolutely essential to have that express pass if you're going to go for one day, because some of these lines get pretty long. Um, and that express pass, like during the day for the day, it's a small percentage of what the standby line is. So definitely get that express pass for Halloween Horror Nights. If you can't get an RIP tour, which I know talk about here next.
Perfect segue. That's the next thing. So instead of a VIP tour, you get the RIP tour. So it's you get to use a VIP entrance to Universal Studios Florida. It's a guided walking tour. You get priority VIP entrance into each house. And this is not the express pass line where you might have to wait. You go directly to the front of every line. So you walk into each of the houses directly. You get your commemorative RIP tour credential, lanyard, and button. Again, proof that you did it. There's also a pre-tour reception with appetizers. Again, bringing you food. Nice. Universal Express Unlimited to the attractions. So this is not just the Express Pass, which gets you once. Universal Express Unlimited, which means you can do it as many times as you want for any of the attractions that are open, at least.
Yep, and that's a great, when you do an RIP tour, you're assigned a time. So if you are assigned, well, you would know the time you're picking when you purchase it. But if you maybe book it a little bit later and your time is 7:30 to start your tour, 8 o'clock, use that time before the tour to ride attractions because, it's just, you're using your time wisely.
Yeah, you're going to get the chance to go through all the houses later anyway on the tour, so you don't need to wait in those lines. And there's typically not going to be too much of a line for the other attractions anyway, so you can even skip whatever lines they have there. But again, be careful that not all the attractions will be open during Halloween Horror Nights. The RIP tour is 5 hours long with a 30-minute break in there, so you'll be on your feet for a bit, so come prepared.
Yeah, and another perk I love with it, well, I guess a warning maybe too first is once you do an RIP tour, you will do one every year. You just feel like the biggest celebrity when they're holding those lines and they're holding the express pass and the standby, and you're just bypassing right in front of them, going straight in the house. It's great. But you also get access to VIP exclusive bars through the night. So you're not straight walking for 5 hours. They're going to do a couple houses and then they'll stop at these bars or these lounges. Kids can go in there that you can sit and rest. It's not like an extensive time you're there, but there's usually restrooms in there. You can get something to eat, something to drink. And only the people on the RIP tour can go in these lounges. My favorite one is the one above the NBC gift shop for Jimmy Fallon. The second story, there is a bar up there with like a big, it's a room, but they make it a bar. You can go outside one of the doors and there's this huge deck. You can oversee the stage that's right there with the greenery, not the greenery, but like the grass, right when you enter the park by Minions Land. And that's a great view. To sit up there and kind of relax for a minute and take in like the atmosphere. But yeah, I love that. That's one of my favorite parts is just that rest time to go and have your own spot. Some of the lines, it can be long for drinks and stuff like that. So this is a great way to, get that VIP feeling and then not have to also stand in line very long for drinks. And then the VIP seating for the show. So the Nightmare Fuel show, there's a separate line that they let RIP tour guests in. People queue up for the show, gosh, basically right when the show before it starts. That line starts for the next show. There's a separate line toward the side where the RIP tour groups go in, and you're the first people in the theater, and they put you right in the center. There's a stage. There's the main stage, but then there's a smaller stage for like one or two actors to do, their thing on, and it's right almost in the center of the seating section for the RIP tour. So they let them in first, you get situated in your spot, and then they let the crowds in around them. So I love that because you get to right dead center, pun intended, for the show. And then I said earlier, like, you get that great view of seeing people. And then if you're in the private tour, which we do non-private is the guide and then 10 people. So a private tour is literally you and like the guide. So you can have up to, I think it's 5 people or maybe 6. And then if you go over that, then they, well, no, that one, the private, I think is more, but for the private tour, the separate entrance to the VIP section is to the right of the main entrance to the park. And it's 2 stories. So if you're in a private tour, you can go up on the second level and you get like a view of the opening, what they call them is opening ceremonies, where they begin the event at 6:30. They have scare actors come out, they have announcements, so you get a tour of that from the second story. So that's a great perk to doing a private one. And then the private one is just whatever. Like if you want to go through this house 3 times, that's great. If you're in a non-private, then you get to go in each house once, and then all the other perks. But the private one, they do whatever you want for those 5 hours that you're, with that guide, with just you by yourself, or you and like your closest buddies.
And the way you're describing it, where you're just walking to the front of the line and everything, reminds me of, again, dating ourselves with movies from Wayne's World when they got the backstage to Alice Cooper and they're just holding up their backstage pass to everyone. And
Oh yeah, it for sure feels like that. You get some, I don't know if it was like dirty looks, but maybe like why are those people, like, are they like celebrities, or like who are they? And you just, I know you just kind of like, I wouldn't do this, but you could like wave and be like, hold up you do have a little VIP pass. They give you it literally looks like
little credential in
uh,
the lanyard, yeah.
it does. It does. You have your lanyard and you could just do the same Garth and Wayne thing. So yeah,
Wear your sunglasses, and you like just pull them down a little bit and like wink at them, and you're going by. No, don't tell.
there
We
you
don't
go.
antagonize anyone. So,
There you go.
so if you are either a huge, huge fan of the haunted houses, or if you are extremely afraid of the haunted houses and don't want to do them, this next behind the screams tour is for you. So the Unmasking the Horror tours, which are lights on tours of the houses. There's either a 2.5 hour tour that takes you through 3 houses, or a 5 hour tour that takes you through 6 houses and has a break in the middle for lunch. But these are great. This is when you get to go in with the lights on and see all of the little details that you would not necessarily see when you're going through at night.
Yeah, and it just amazes me that Universal puts so much detail on these houses that most of the guests going through it will never see. And some of them they put in there specifically for this tour. We did this last year. We did a 3 house tour on our rest day, so to speak, in between the nights we go. But if you're gonna do this tour, I would definitely recommend doing it after you've gone through like a night or 2 of the actual event, because they're major spoilers. They're going to show you how this scare works. There could be like a mirror there where it looks like, you know, like a tall mirror. It's like the size of a person. And when you're in the house with all the effects and the lights off and stuff, it looks like just part of the house. And then there's a guy else that jumps out of it. So you'll know where all the scares are, how they work. Um, which is not a bad thing. I think that's pretty cool to show all that. And there's also things that they'll put in there, like I said, for the people for the tour. I don't know her title. One of the I think production managers, I think she is, for Halloween Horror Nights. She's scared of frogs, and so in this Unmasking the Horror tour, they'll show you where they've placed frogs for her when she, I guess, manages or sets up this house or whatever. They hide these little frogs and they're kind of themed to the house. I think there was you would never see these frogs and during the tour, but the guide will have a flashlight, because even though the houses are lit, there's still some shadowy areas. He'll have a flashlight and say, hey, there's the frog for this house. And it was like a frog for Dueling Dragons last year, which is a medieval theme. Like it was based on a ride years ago. Um and like the frog had like a little wizard hat on. It was super cute. Stuff like that I think is neat. And they hide these frogs in there to antagonize or you know poke at like one of their employees that hates frogs. I thought that was kind of fun. But yeah, when we started this tour last year, there was one of the people in our group that she's like, we're not gonna have spoilers, right? And the guy's like, it's all spoilers. So that's why I said I recommend trying to go through one or two nights before you do this tour, if you're going to continue on and go to another night, so that it's not all not it's not ruined, but you definitely know the tricks after this. Or if this is your last night, or if you, like you said, if you don't want to be scared at all, but you just want to take in all these immersive details and all the stuff that Universal put in there, this is a great tour to do. You don't have to pay park admission. You start the tour and end the tour at outside the park. So it's great.
Or if you have a close friend or a significant other or travel buddy who is insisting that you go to them and you absolutely hate the haunted houses, again, make sure you know what's going on. And uh, it might be interesting to do the houses a couple times, then take the tour and then do them again, and be able to look and notice all these little nuances, and be like the celebrity in the group of pointing them out to other people. Look right there, look right there, and there's a frog there, neat. So
Yeah, that's what we did last year. We did it on our third night. We went 4 nights last year, so we did 2 nights, did the tour during the day, and then the last night we did, went to the event as in the evening, and it was cool. That's what we did.
they also have other things that they offer. There's the Scream early ticket, which will let you get into Universal Studios Florida from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, so you get a couple hours in the park. And then you have to go to a waiting area from 5 o'clock till 6:30.
Yeah, this is a great thing to have if if you just have one night of Halloween Horror Nights, maybe don't have the budget for the Express Pass or the budget for the RIP tour, or maybe they're already sold out by the time you decide to go. Um, they're affectionately known as holding pens, but there's usually about three of them. They haven't announced where they're at this year, but like last year with Stranger Things, the was that the fourth season? And so we added on Thursday night, kind of last minute, and we got in this area early. And so the big perk to the Scream early ticket is they will let these groups in around 6 to 6:10, and you can knock out a couple houses in that area before the public comes in at 6:30. So if you're starting in the back with that area, like the holding area back there, holding pen, you could potentially get even more than that knocked out before the crowd walks from the very front all the way to the back. So that's a you know, great thing that I would do if like I said, don't want to spend the money to do the other two upgrades.
But then there's also some downsides to doing these as well.
Yeah. So because the park closes at 5, the event technically starts at 6:30, and there's that downtime between when they're getting out the props, the scare actors are getting in their places for the houses. So you may house may not 100% fully ready to go for these groups that go in. 6:30, everybody's ready to go. So it's a bit of a trade-off. So you may have um, you know, some areas in the house where a scare actor might not be at. And then of course you have that disadvantage to it's daytime still. If you've ever gone through like a dark ride at any park during the day, your eyes take a while to adjust from that bright Florida sun to a dimly lit haunted house. So you may visually not see as many things too, but it just depends on what's important to you, and budget as well.
This is where the sunglasses come in handy. So at least can take away a little bit of the glare from the sun when you're first going inside.
Yeah.
So, and if you can, they have, I guess, Tricia said, have not announced where the holding pens will be, but one's typically at Finnegan's. So, and you recommend staying there if possible?
Yeah, so it depends on, like I said, Stranger Things happened to be in that area last year, and that was a house that, gosh, that wait got up to 2, sometimes 3 hours, because it's Stranger Things. Everybody loves, that type of IP. And so if if the house you want to go to is in an area, that's what you want to prioritize, is that house. But a great perk of Stranger Things happened to be in the area where Finnegan's was at. But Finnegan's is if people aren't familiar, watching this. It's a like an Irish pub style restaurant, and it happened to be in this holding pen area. This is not like a small little queue. And the queue is like a regular line queue, but it's the whole area with, that's blocked off for people that have this ticket, or like a daytime ticket. And so you could go get food, fuel up before it starts, to where using Finnegan's, that'd be a good strategy to do, is to utilize that holding pen to, for those houses that are there, and to also get food. So checks lots of boxes, but a lot of people have that idea too. So if you're going to do these Scream Early tickets and these holding pens, I would definitely get there around 4:30, because either people are accessing Finnegan's earlier, or they're already lined up in that queue, because the further in the queue you are, the more houses you can knock out before 6:30 when it opens to the public.
And then if going just one night isn't enough for you, they have the Russia Fear Pass, which will get you access for the first 18 nights. There's the Frequent Fear Pass, which gets you up to 30 nights. The Frequent Fear Pass Plus, which is 40 nights. And then the Ultimate Frequent Fear Pass. Try saying those 3 times fast, huh? They get you access to up to all 48 of the nights. And the Ultimate Frequent Fear Pass also gives you free self-parking after 5:00 p.m. on Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, these are really popular tickets because a lot of locals go to Halloween Horror Nights. And so you can, when they were first released, which I think this is the first time this has happened, you can also buy those passes with an express pass. The passes with the express pass, I think, sold out the same day. Like, you can still get the passes, but you're going to be in the standby line. You unfortunately won't have that upgrade with the express pass with it. But yeah, I know if and when I move there to Florida, I'm getting the ultimate frequent fear pass with my express, and I'm gonna be there every weekend.
Well, my retirement plan is to move down there and work in one of those parks. So that's whenever I decide to, it's enough and I just want to relax a little bit. I'm going to work a couple hours a day just in a theme park, down in Florida. Not have to worry about cold winters ever. So
Yeah, yeah, that's my husband and I's plan too. Don't know when it'll be, but one of these days we'll be there. We'll be there. Same thing.
And by the way, as we're describing all of this, if you would like to buy tickets for it, you know exactly where to find us. Well, we'll give you the contact information later on. We can book all this stuff for you and help you out. And as you can see, or as you're hearing, that we can give you all kinds of great tips for planning everything. But as we mentioned before, it's not just in Orlando that they have this. There's also Halloween Horror Nights out in Hollywood. This year, there's going to be 40 nights. That's going to run from September 5th through November 3rd. It starts at 7:00 p.m. They have 8 houses. They have the Terror Tram. And then a lot of it's similar to what you're going to get at Orlando, is that you have early access tickets that you can actually get in to Universal Studios Hollywood at 2:00, and then haunted houses as early as 5:30. They have express passes, RIP tours, frequent fear packages, or frequent fear passes, and they have some hotel packages as well.
Yeah,
So
I really want to see that Terror Tram with Hollywood. I think that'd be really fun. They take the daytime studio tour and they just make it Halloween Horror Nights theme with, they have the Bates Hotel, stuff like that. I think the set for Nope, the movie Nope, which I have not seen, my husband has, is actually there. They moved it to Hollywood. I think this year that the walkthrough, usually for Halloween Horror Nights, they let you off on the tram to walk through that set, and they have, scare actors and stuff in there. I think this year, in order to get access to that, you have to book the RIP tour there. They're not going to make a stop where you can get off, and walk through the set. But it's just so unique. It's the whole studio tour, I think, is like that's the thing with going to Universal Hollywood, is that tram tour. The original, I think it had its 60-year anniversary this year for the tram tour.
Yes, they have all kinds of special merchandise. So I'm wondering if they're going to do something special for it, because it is the 60th anniversary of the tram tour if they're gonna do anything
Yeah.
different.
I wonder, that would be, yeah, that's a good thing. I didn't think about that. Yeah, could be.
And as a bonus, that if you buy a ticket to Halloween Horror Nights, you get 6 months of Peacock free, and it's valid for both whether you go to Orlando or Hollywood. So extra stuff if you get the tickets. So that's really nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
So we've covered a lot of information here. Tricia, thank you very much for that. Do you have a final travel tip?
Yeah, and I kind of already talked about this one a little bit. Book early. Book early if you want to go, especially if you want to be as close as possible to the park that this takes place in, Hard Rock. It sells out really early. The later in, like the closer to Halloween you get, the more expensive it gets. RIP tours sell out. I would just, if you know you're going to go or think you might want to go, definitely book early. Um, and we didn't talk about this earlier when we talked about the houses, but you know, even if a lot of the, what attracts people to Halloween Horror Nights is the IPs. I've had clients that like reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, I love this movie. I love this game." Like I had a client last year. She's like, "My boyfriend and I love The Last of Us. We played the game, and they literally went for The Last of Us house last year." But the IPs bring people in, but the original houses are always my favorite. So, don't, even if you don't see an IP you might like, those original houses are so, so good. Just try taking, advantage of going there to the parks during the day and just maybe just do one night, see what you think about it. And my clients that go, they become it's an addiction. Like they will go every year after that. It's such a fun thing to do and such a fall thing. But another tip I have is that the closer you get to closing time at 2, the lines are shorter for houses. Again, if you can't, for budget reasons or availability reasons, if you decide to go later in the year, and stuff's sold out, or you just can't afford that RIP for this year or the Express Pass, if you can utilize the Scream early ticket and then stay till the event closes between 12 and 2, a lot of the house times they drop a lot because the houses can go anywhere from 2 hours depending on, usually the IP houses, 2 to 3 hour waits. If you can go stay closer to 2 when it closes, you'll have less of a line to go to wait in if you don't have those upsells with the RIP tour.
My tip
And
is that if you'd
another,
like to be, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and if you don't think Halloween Horror Nights is for you, YouTube is your friend. Maybe just go on YouTube and look at the houses and see what it's like. They're all recorded, and see if you think that's something that you might want to do. It's not anywhere close to being the same as being there in person, like most things are when you watch on YouTube. So, it's not going to be all spoiled, but just give it a try. You never know.
And that plays into one of my, I have two travel tips, but it plays into one of mine is that if the haunted houses aren't your thing, or if you're not too sure, do the behind the screams tour. And they do, again, such a fabulous job with the haunted houses and the details. And you can see them so much better with the lights on, and they'll point things out to you. And it's a great way, to go in and see, okay, here's what it is. And then maybe go to it that night or later on after you've seen it, see how you feel. And then that can lead you into, okay, these things aren't too bad. You get an idea of what it's all like without, all of the uncertainty as you would just diving right in. And these are also great for those who can't get enough of the Halloween Horror Nights, as mentioned before, that after you've gone to them a couple times, then go do the tours. And you get to see even more of, the haunted houses and learn even more about some of the stuff that they've done. And if you really, really like to get scared, do the RIP tours or get one of the frequent fear passes. That specifically the RIP tour is well worth the money. That you get to walk right up to the front of the line go right to those haunted houses, and you save so much time by not waiting in lines, and you can go afford to go back and do other ones later on. And later in the night after you've gone through the tour, again, as Tricia said, if you're closer to midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, you can then go through your favorites again with a shorter wait. You don't have to worry about it so much. Plus, you get the express pass for the rides whenever you're not on it. So, if you have it right at 6:30, you're done around 11:30. There's still a bit of line. Do a couple rides and then finish off with your favorite haunted houses. And then also, and if you're in the area for a long time, or if you're going to be there for several days, you want the frequent fear passes that, if you go and, you can get right away, get a couple of the haunted houses in a night, then do some few other things. Next night, do a few of the other houses. And so you can stagger them. You don't have to do everything all in one night, which kind of takes the pressure off, especially if if the lines get really long, 2-3 hours, and, you're tired of waiting in line. Go to some of the rides that people aren't, on quite so much, and then go back to them later on. And next night, do some of the different ones first. And so it's a little more of a relaxed way to enjoy all of the stuff they have to offer.
Yeah, and we didn't even touch on the food booths. Even like the food booths are themed for the house, and you have all like, the favorites are pizza, fries, and twisted taters. But every year they have new food that comes out, and you could spend half of your time there just going to all the food booths and sampling all the different foods.
So once again, Tricia, thank you so much. This has been a very, very fun episode. I love the fall anyway, and Halloween is right around my birthday, and it's right around my little girl's birthday. We're 8 days apart, so it's just a fun time of year that I've always just enjoyed. So, talking Halloween stuff is great, and I know we're a little bit late. If you're in Walmart, they've had their Halloween stuff out since July, but we're getting into the mood for it, especially because it's starting to get a little bit cooler. At least here it is.
Yeah, it's not going to get cool here in Texas for, gosh, another probably at least 6 weeks and stuff like that. But yeah, preparing for this has like got me all excited about going this year. And, I have to be more inspired, I have my pumpkin spice candle burning in the background. And, my kids may come home from school today to have fall decorations or Halloween decorations up. I always threaten them that, I'm going to do that because I love the fall. It's just great. My house has probably more Halloween and fall decorations than I have for Christmas.
And Halloween Horror Nights start in 2 weeks. So, all right.
All right.
Now, if you have a destination or experience that you'd like to have us discuss on the Where Yinz Goin podcast, or if you'd like to share your favorite destination or a travel tip, feel free to contact me. I'd love to hear your feedback and ideas. If you are already working with a Dreams by Design travel advisor, please continue to work with him or her. But otherwise, Tricia, how can people get a hold of you?
I'm on Facebook, Dreams by Design Travel with Tricia. And my email, and Tricia spelled Tricia. It's a little different than the traditional Tricia spelling. And then my email is same, my first name, Tricia, Tricia at dreamsbydesigntravel.com.
For me, my social media is at Matt with DBD. I'm on Facebook, X, and Instagram. My email is Matt, MATT, at dreamsbydesigntravel.com. Website for our company is dreamsbydesigntravel.com. And all this information will be in the show description, so you don't have to write it down right now or have a photographic memory. So if you'd like to book a trip or have any questions, you have a way to get a hold of us. Please like, follow, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend, get the word out to other people. If you liked what you heard, we'd like to grow our audience. Please join us next time. We're heading out, Nat. We'll see you later.